Now you see why Burry's worth talking about? Burry has pushed back in the spotlight thanks to the current bank crisis that recently set off in early 2023, an event that might very well challenge the 2008 Great Recession for the worst financial crisis we've seen in this lifetime. On March 10, 2023, Silicon Valley Bank, a state-chartered commercial bank responsible for the existence of the world's premier technological innovations, was shut down by state regulators after an enormous drop in deposits, mostly thanks to the increasing interest rates. However, this is not just a singular case and isn't exclusive to SVB. This is the beginning of many banks falling after the rising interest rates in order to recuperate the losses experienced during the pandemic. Now, tens and thousands of people are looking to experts to assess the situation in hopes that a few can accurately predict what might happen in the near future. Thanks to Burry's stellar history, more eyes and ears are back on him and what he has to say about the banking crisis and everything else economics. As early as the second day of 2023, Burry has already tweeted out a controversial tweet that inflation peaked, but it is not the last peak of the cycle. We are likely to see CPI, Consumer Price Index, lower, possibly negative in the second half of 2023, and the U.S. is likely in recession by any definition. The Fed has already decided to continue to increase interest rates despite a few banks collapsing. Burry tweets, "And we will have another inflation spike. It's not hard." This refers to the current interest rates set by the Fed, and Burry is referring to how the highest inflation rate has already passed, but will probably cycle back to hitting this high sometime again. The highest recorded inflation rate since the Great Recession was observed in June 2022 with a record high of 9.1%. For 2023, the January number was recorded at 6.4%, while the February was 6.0%. Burry believes that by the second half of the year, inflation might reach numbers similar to that observed in June 2022, which might just come true thanks to the banking crisis that recently occurred and is still currently unfolding. Despite not much clamor about the banking collapse early this year, Burry managed to predict that the CPI will increase again, though this may happen sooner rather than later. In another controversial tweet, Burry then shared his insight on Salesforce job cuts, which circled around the media during the time it was happening. While many were angered by Salesforce's decision to cut down 10% of their employees to cut costs due to economic slowdown, Burry shared his hot take and that the cut should have been 25% instead. Co-Chief Executive Officer Mark Beinoff said in an interview, "As our revenue accelerated through the pandemic, we hired too many people, leading into this economic downturn we're now facing, and I take responsibility for that." On January 23, 2023, Michael Burry tweeted a cryptic tweet with only the word "maybe," accompanied by a picture of this ominous graph. In the graph, the S&P 500 is visualized and is shown plummeting downwards. In the picture, Burry encircled a particular area that sees a bit of an upward trajectory from September 2001 to March 2002. It hints that the "maybe" in his tweets means that maybe you should sell, as it is the last high before S&P 500 value starts to go on a downward trajectory until next year, hinting that this may be the same situation faced today. This speculation of Burry urging his followers to consider selling is only solidified when he tweets "sell" a week later. On February 8th, Burry tweeted what may be read as sarcasm as he tweets, "This time is different," as many of his followers read the chart following a similar trajectory. Considering his last tweet where he tweeted "sell," many people believe that this tweet is indeed sarcastic and further enforces his followers to start selling now. After staying silent for weeks, Burry tweeted 2000, 2008, 2023. It is always the same. People full of hubris and greed take stupid risks and fail. Money is then printed because it works so well. This tweet is then followed by another tweet the following day, with Burry tweeting, "This crisis could resolve very quickly. I am not seeing true danger here." Since the SVB collapse occurred on March 10th and Burry started tweeting on March 12th, it is almost certain that he is referring to the banking crisis. While many were confused as to whether his follow-up tweet was genuine or if it was sarcastic yet again, Burry then tweeted out another tweet regarding the collapse of banks due to lazy ESG funds. In this tweet, Burry says, "My hope is that the human race will reverse direction away from impatient, lazy shortcuts, always and everywhere." His stance is soon made clear in that he doesn't think that this crisis will last long and will soon resolve, as he tweeted in March 15, 2023. In October 1907, Knickerbocker Trust failed due to risky bets, sparking a panic. 2 others soon failed, and it spread. When a bank run began on a healthy trust, J.P. Morgan made a stand. 3 weeks later, and the panic was resolved, and markets bottomed. A stand was made this past weekend. This implies that while Burry acknowledges that the banking crisis is real, he doesn't see it as a big enough crisis for people to panic over. Burry implies that in a few weeks, the crisis would be resolved and the market would have already bottomed and would only start to rise upwards again after. Burry then tweeted out a chart later that week explaining that Signature Bank, SBNY, and SVB, 2 banks closed by regulators, were the institutions that had the most uninsured deposits, implying that it makes total sense that these 2 banks were forced to close down and other banks should not fear the worst for now. Many news-sharing sites and financial media sites covered Burry's tweets, with some saying that Burry implies that USB and Comerica will be the next ones to fall. Burry outright denied this in a tweet, saying, "There is an article out there saying I was suggesting USB and Comerica were next. That is not true. One chart, a couple of data points, 0 such cannot encapsulate all a bank is." In his last tweet, as of the making of this video, Burry targeted current Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, saying, "Powell should have just said, 'I don't know,' and say it again and again as he sits on his hands for the next 6 months. Then we might get some real price discovery." Lots of tweets, lots of fears, and lots of predictions. With the ongoing saga of the banking crisis, we can expect Burry to stay active on his primary means of communication. But this is only one aspect of Burry. He is an analyst. We can very well see that he's continuing to analyze trends and patterns and how events such as this affect stocks, the S&P 500, and the economy at large. But how is he currently doing as an investor? Burry continues to buy and sell stocks that he thinks are worthy. Starting off 2023, Burry reveals that he purchased $5 million worth of shares of Curate Retail Inc. Series A late last year, which, at the time of his purchase, fell by 80%. If you were wondering, this company specializes in e-commerce retail. With a brand new management team and an enterprise value to EBITDA ratio of only 295, not counting the cash flow to come, Burry reminds us that he has an amazing eye for possibly wildly profitable stocks. Since his purchase, QRTEA has been up by 20% and is seeing an upward trajectory in value. A stock tracker revealed Burry's buys and sells for February. In February 2023, Burry's new buys included Black Knight Incorporated, Coherent Corporation, Alibaba Group Holding Limited, JD.com Incorporated, Wolverine Worldwide Incorporated, and SkyWest Incorporated. Meanwhile, his sales included Geo Group Incorporated, Aerojet Rocketdyne Holdings Incorporated, Core Civic Incorporated, Charter Communications Incorporated, Liberty Latin America Limited Class C, and most notably, Burry has also decided to sell his QRTA stocks for a profit. Generally, Burry buys and liquidates every quarter as he is very bearish, though it is worth noting that a significant amount of his portfolio is currently Chinese companies. It's clear that Burry is still very much involved in the world of stocks and the economy, and that he continues to share his opinions and expertise regarding the field through his very elusive Twitter account. As of the moment, Burry does not believe the banking crisis that is currently unfolding is a huge enough threat for everyday people to worry about, though he acknowledges the existence of it. Despite this, Michael Burry continues to buy and sell stocks he believes are of value, and if you are a true believer of this modern-day Nostradamus, you can follow Burry's buys and sells in hopes to make a profit from the predicting genius. So, should you blindly follow Burry's investments? Absolutely not, but it's worth taking a grain of salt from a man who tweets and deletes more times than he buys and sells stocks.